It's Steve Buchanan and Garion Thorne going head-to-head here with their baseball picks. And Garion winning last week 3-2. Steve leads the series here 2-1. But before we get into today's pick, there's just something I need to remind everybody. We need to address this. We have a potential scandal here because last week Steve said he may just throw the series because Garion making the picks is less work for Steve. And then Steve immediately loses. This is very similar to the 1919 Black Sox scandal. And it turns out, Steven, the apple does not fall far from this generational tree. Old Chippy Buchanan, look at this. His great-great-grandfather from back in 1919, part of the Black Sox scandal. Steven, what do you have to say to yourself?
I was muted there because I said some scandalous things. So thankfully I was on mute. But, I think it needed to be said that I think this show needed a little injection of controversy. This show needed something to bring it back to life and bring it to be this show that everybody comes to see, is Steve going to throw this series? It's the talk of the town right now. So I am going to leave all the information locked right up here. You will find out once the series concludes if Steve threw the series or not. But talk about driving viewers to the show. That's exactly what I'm doing right now. It's all part of this master plan.
Garion,
Can I just say, last week just shouldn't have counted anyway? I feel like Kaufman was here. It was a weird vibe.
Yeah.
You know, just a
total
strange show
idiot
in general. Who really knows what happened? We call those the lost episodes of The Sweat. So,
okay.
A lot of hijinks, a lot of tomfoolery. We can just move on.
All right, so Garion, your approach doesn't change at all, knowing that your competitor here is likely trying to lose on purpose.
I mean, the key to my approach is I also really don't care if I win or lose this every week. So I would say unchanged.
All right. All right, so Garion, let's go ahead. Let's start this week off here. Let's get your pick, your pitcher tonight on this slate. Who's it going to be?
I'm going to go with Dylan Cease. Surprising to see Cease below 9K, even though he's probably had the strangest 4 weeks of a really good pitcher that I can remember. He was pummeled by the Yankees. He was pummeled by the Red Sox. And while he technically has not allowed an earned run in any of his last 3 starts, that's 16 and a third innings, he's allowed 9 unearned runs in that span of time, which is a number that I cannot remember ever seeing in a 3-start span. So I don't know. We're just going to kind of wipe the slate clean here. We're going to say that for the season, Dylan Cease, 2.84 expected ERA, someone who's got a 32.7% strikeout rate. Anytime you can get that kind of upside below 9K, I think you have to jump on it, especially considering the opponent here. The Tigers, a 52 WRC plus so far in the month of June. That is pathetic.
Who do you got on the mound tonight, Steve?
Yeah, so you got Nick Pavetta taking the mound for the Red Sox tonight in a great spot against the Oakland Athletics, who went off that tremendous fire sale before the season began and now are playing like a team that went through a tremendous fire sale. 21-41 on the season, a negative 78 run differential. And Nick Pavetta just faced this team not too long ago, just a couple of starts to go, shut them out through 7 innings, struck out 7, only walked 2. Is Nick Pavetta going to go out there and get you 35 DraftKings fantasy points? Probably not. But is he going to go out there, give you 6 strong innings, strike out probably over a batter an inning? Absolutely. He's absolutely going to do that on a huge slate like this. I can't expect that the ownership is going to be really weighted on Pavetta or really on Cease. This is one of those slates where the ownership is going to be very spread out. A lot of big names on this slate. Pavetta can easily go overlooked on this one. I like him in this start against the Athletics.
All right, so 15 games on this slate here, Gare Bear. Take me to your favorite infielder.
So I don't think it's going to come as any shock that I like Jose Ramirez tonight. He's priced appropriately, let's just say. He's $6,100 at Coors Field against Antonio Senzatella, who I just love to pick on. And, I said I don't care if I win or lose these segments. I just want the people to walk away learning something. And look, they're not going to learn that Antonio Senzatella is bad. They already knew that. They're not going to learn that Jose Ramirez is good. They already knew that. They're not going to learn that Coors Field, great offensive environment. They already knew that. But what I found interesting looking into Jose Ramirez's stats this morning, because you kind of just think this guy's having an amazing season. There's no real flaw in his game. He has been so much better against right-handed pitchers in particular than he has been against left-handed pitchers as a switch hitter. It's sort of staggering. He's got a 109 WRC plus against lefties so far this year. That's fine. 9% better than league average. 214 WRC plus as a left-handed hitter against right-handed pitching. At Coors Field, a 214 WRC plus, I got to find a way to fit that salary into my lineup.
Steve, tough to argue with the man who's leading the league and runs batted in.
Leading the league in like everything at this point, right? Except for home runs. That's Aaron Judge. But let's talk about Jake Cronerworth tonight going up against Kyle Hendricks. Kyle Hendricks is always like troubling numbers against lefties. I don't know what's going on this year, but there needs to be a better word than troubling, because this is just flat out bad for Kyle Hendricks against lefties. A 4.05 WOBA, 6.85 FIP, and 9 of the 11 home runs that he's allowed on the season. He is absolutely getting crushed against lefties. Now we have Cronerworth, who all of a sudden is starting to hit again, because first couple months of the season, it was bad. He was batting 215 or below during the months of April and May. Now in the early part of June, he's already collected 15 hits, which is almost more than he had in April when he had 17, and we're only 13 games into the season. So he has 15 hits. Of those hits, 7 of them have gone for extra bases. Now you have someone like Kyle Hendricks, who can't face lefties to begin with, and you have a hot hitter in Jake Cronerworth at second base tonight. I think he's the best, one of the best infielders that you can take on this slate.
All right, let's go to the outfield now, Garion. Who do you like?
I think you got to get a piece of the Jays offense tonight against Jordan Lyles. Ideally, you'd be stacking left-handed batters against Jordan Lyles, but the Jays don't really have many of those. So let's just go with George Springer, who's going to sit atop that Blue Jays order. He's $5,300 tonight. Jordan Lyles, it's kind of funny to say someone needs to be pitching at Camden Yards to be good, but we do have to remember that Camden was augmented this offseason to really keep right-handed batters suppressed. And he's had some good numbers in Baltimore. The numbers are terrible when he leaves Oriole Park. 566 opponent slugging percentage on the road, 413 opponent WOBA on the road this season for Jordan Lyles. The Jays as a team in June, a 168 WRC plus. They're averaging about 8 runs per game in the month. Like I said, got to get a part. Might as well start at the top. So George Springer.
All right, who do you got, Steve? You got a pick that's going to put up more points?
I like Luis Robert tonight. He has been crushing it for the White Sox, and even though the White Sox aren't really crushing much of anything right now, except, keeping a manager that shouldn't be there, but that's a different story. But Luis Robert has just been on fire as of late, really hitting the ball well. Not really sure who's starting for the Tigers tonight. They've mentioned a couple names. If Tyler Alexander is the guy who's starting tonight, would love Robert even more. His numbers against lefties, much better against righties. But either way, he's been hitting the ball extremely well on a team that is struggling to hit the ball overall right now. So I think this is a great spot for Luis Robert. His numbers on the road, too, much better than they are at home. He's hitting 313 on the road, 344 WOBA, and a 126 WRC plus. This is a great spot for Robert.
Need a value play now, Garion. Who is your top value pick this evening?
Going to go with one of the platoon staples of Major League Baseball, Mr. Darren Ruff, who's $3,700, going up against Chris Bubic of the Royals. 8.30 expected ERA for Bubic, which is somehow better than his actual ERA, which is well over 9 so far this season. Ruff has always crushed left-handed pitching. He's got a 136 WRC plus against lefties in 2022. For his career, that number's even better. It's 151 WRC plus. So under 4K, I think Ruff's in a really nice spot. And also he gives you some positional eligibility at both first base and outfield. So really easy to fit him into a lineup.
Steve, who do you got for a value play?
Yeah, staying with that team, with the lefty on the mound and Bubic, Austin Slater should be batting leadoff tonight for the Giants. He's even cheaper. He's only $2,900 tonight batting, and like I said, in that leadoff spot there. They don't really start him against righties, but lefties, his numbers, that's where it's at. 336 WOBA, 204 isolated power, and a 119 WRC plus. Gary just mentioned how bad the numbers are for Bubic, and this is exactly why you take somebody like Slater, who's going to be one of the cheaper leadoff hitters that you'll get in this game. There is the potential that he will get pinch hit for later in the game, but nonetheless, he still should log at least 3 at-bats hitting at top of the Giants lineup, who should not only be going over their team total, but they should be beating up on Bubic in this game here. So getting him at 2,900 at the top of your lineup, that should be one of the better value plays on the board.
All right, Care Bear, final part of Thorne and my side. This could be the difference between you winning next week, which, again, you don't care about, and
really,
you
no.
losing. So give me your best bet here.
Do like winning bets, though. So this is an important one.
Right.
Gonna take the over in the Jays-Orioles game. I already mentioned Lyle's struggles, how good Toronto's offense has been as of late. The Orioles in the month of June, 5th best isolated power, 8th best WRC+. They've also been hitting really, really well. And Yusei Kikuchi has been pitching terribly. Awful
Lord.
starts back-to-back. Didn't even get out of the first inning in his last outing. I think there's going to be a lot of runs scored tonight at the Rogers Center.
Steven, what about you, man? What's your best bet?
Yeah, you can get the Dodgers at plus money on the run line at plus 105 over the Angels. Look, the Noah Syndergaard experiment has been okay at best, but he's really been struggling. He hasn't looked like the guy that we saw in the month of April. His strikeouts continue to be way down. He's striking out, has like 5 batters per 9 inning. I mean, that's just insane when you think about him. The velocity is down, and now he's facing one of the better offenses in the league in the Dodgers in LA. Tony Gonsolin, probably one of the pitchers that nobody talks about at all, has been unbelievably solid for that Dodgers rotation. They need it too with how Walker Buehler is going to be out, who's probably one of their weaker links. The struggles with Julio Urias. So Gonsolin has been one of their most consistent starters. Really don't hear about him much at all, but he should be able to quiet this Angels offense that has just been puttering along for the last 2-3 weeks at this point. So give me the Dodgers to win by at least 2 runs in this game at the plus money, plus 105.